Let's start with a question that might linger in your mind long after this video ends. Why does it seem like the kindest, most giving people often end up attracting the harshest and most toxic energy in life? It's a paradox, isn't it? You'd think that goodness would repel negativity, that light would drive out darkness. But life doesn't always work that way. In fact, it often feels like life flips that logic on its head. The brighter your light, the longer the shadows it casts, and those shadows, my friend, are where toxicity thrives. I know what you're thinking. Why me? I've done nothing but try to help others, to be kind, to live with integrity. So why do I find myself surrounded by people who seem to drain my energy, criticize my every move, or take advantage of my compassion? And trust me, I feel you. I've been there. But to understand this phenomenon, we need to dive deep, really deep into the human psyche, the nature of goodness, and the strange magnetism between light and darkness. Let's start with this. What does it mean to be good? Think about that for a second. Is it about kindness, generosity, a willingness to forgive? Sure, all of that matters. But at its core, being good is about living authentically, being true to your values, even when the world around you tempts you to abandon them. And that, my friends, is where the trouble begins. Because the moment you decide to live with integrity, you become a mirror. Your actions, your words, your very existence reflect something profound, and not everyone likes what they see in that reflection. Imagine this: you're walking through a dark room, holding a lantern. That light you carry illuminates not only the path ahead, but also the clutter, the cobwebs, the things people would rather keep hidden in the corners of their lives. Some people will thank you for showing them the way. Others, they'll resent you for exposing what they'd rather not see. Your goodness, your light, forces them to confront their own flaws, insecurities, and shortcomings. And that confrontation can be uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that it breeds resentment, jealousy, and yes, toxicity.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But here's the kicker: it's not always about them. Sometimes it's about you. Let's be real for a moment. Have you ever wondered if your kindness, your willingness to forgive, your instinct to help might sometimes cross the line into self-sacrifice? It's a hard truth, but one we need to face. Good souls often have a tendency to give until there's nothing left. And when you give without boundaries, you send a signal to the world: take as much as you want. I'll be fine. But the truth is, you won't always be fine. And that's okay to admit. Ask yourself this: when was the last time I said no? When was the last time I put my needs first? If you can't remember, you're not alone. Good souls often struggle with setting boundaries because they fear being perceived as selfish. But here's the thing: boundaries aren't walls. They're bridges between your needs and the needs of others. Without them, you're not just attracting toxic energy, you're inviting it in. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Why does toxicity exist in the first place? Why do some people seem to carry so much negativity within them? To answer that, we need to understand a fundamental truth about human nature: hurt people. Think about that for a moment. Every toxic word, every manipulative action, every attempt to drag you down, it all stems from a place of pain. That doesn't excuse it, but it does explain it. Toxic people are often those who have been wounded so deeply that they've built walls around their hearts, walls so high that they can't even see the light you carry. And here's where things get complicated. As a good soul, you probably have a natural tendency to want to heal others. You see their pain, their struggles, and you think, if I can just love them enough, maybe they'll change. But here's the harsh reality: you can't pour from an empty cup. If you allow toxic energy to drain you, you'll have nothing left to give, not to yourself, not to others, not to the world. So what's the solution? How do we navigate this complex dance between light and darkness, between good and toxic energy? It starts with a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, what is this teaching me? Every toxic encounter, every draining relationship, every moment of doubt is an opportunity to grow. It's a test of your resilience, your boundaries, your ability to stay true to yourself in the face of adversity. And let me tell you, staying true to yourself is no small feat. The world is full of people who will try to dim your light, not because they hate you, but because they're afraid of what your light reveals about them. But here's the thing, your light is not just for you, it's for the world. The kindness you show, the compassion you offer, the authenticity you live it creates ripples. It inspires others to be better, to do better, to live better. And that, my friends, is a power no amount of toxicity can take away. Before we continue, let me ask you this: what is your light worth to you? Think about that. Is it worth protecting? Is it worth fighting for? If the answer is yes, then you owe it to yourself to set boundaries, to prioritize self-care, to surround yourself with people who uplift you rather than drag you down. Because here's the truth: you can't save everyone, but you can save yourself. And in doing so, you become a beacon of hope for those who are ready to embrace the light. I know this isn't easy. I know there will be days when you feel like giving up, when the weight of the world feels too heavy to bear. But remember this: you are not alone. There's a community of good souls out there, people like you who are fighting the same battles, facing the same challenges, and striving to make the world a better place. Seek them out, lean on them, let their light fuel yours. As we move into the next part of this journey, I want you to reflect on one final question: what would happen if you stopped trying to fix everyone else and started focusing on healing yourself? Because that, my friends, is where true strength lies. It's not in giving until you're empty. It's in loving yourself enough to say, I deserve better. Let's begin with a truth that's as uncomfortable as it is liberating. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength in its most human form. I know society loves to tell us otherwise. We're taught from an early age to armor up, to hide our pain, to pretend we're invincible. But let me ask you this: what's more powerful, a fortress that keeps the world out, or a soul that dares to remain open, unguarded, and real, no matter how many storms it endures? You see, the very thing that makes good souls so magnetic, their openness, their compassion, their willingness to feel deeply, is the same thing that makes them vulnerable to toxic energy. But here's the paradox: it's also their greatest source of power. Because vulnerability isn't just about exposing your wounds, it's about owning them. It's about saying, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I felt pain, but I'm still here, still standing, still choosing to love, to give, to believe in the goodness of the world. And that, my friends, terrifies toxic people. Why? Because toxicity thrives on fear. It feeds on insecurity, on the belief that the world is a zero-sum game, where one person's gain is another's loss. But when you embrace your vulnerability, when you own your story, every scar, every heartbreak, every mistake, you strip toxicity of its power. You show the world, and yourself, that your worth isn't tied to your perfection or your ability to stay unscathed. Your worth lies in your ability to rise again and again, no matter how many times you've been knocked down. So let's ask the big question: how do we transform pain into power? How do we take the wounds inflicted by toxic energy and turn them into something beautiful, something meaningful, something that strengthens rather than weakens us? It starts with acceptance. I know that sounds cliche, but hear me out. Most of us spend so much energy resisting our pain, pretending it doesn't exist, or wishing it away. But resistance only gives pain more power. It's like trying to hold back a tidal wave with your bare hands. The more you fight, the more it consumes you. But when you accept your pain, when you allow yourself to feel it fully, without judgment, you take the first step toward healing. Acceptance doesn't mean you're okay with what happened. It doesn't mean you condone the actions of those who hurt you. It simply means you're choosing to stop running from your pain. You're choosing to face it, to sit with it, to let it teach you what it needs to teach. And that, my friend, is an act of courage. But here's the thing about courage. It's not a one-time event. It's a practice, a choice you make every single day. And as you practice courage, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to see your pain not as a burden, but as a source of wisdom. You start to realize that every wound you've endured has shaped you, deepened you, and given you a unique perspective on the world. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself connecting with someone over a shared struggle? How many times has your own pain allowed you to empathize with someone else's? That's the power of vulnerability. It bridges the gap between us. It reminds us that we're not alone, that our struggles are not unique, that we're all walking this messy, beautiful, heartbreaking journey together. But let's not stop there. Let's take this idea a step further. Because if pain can teach us empathy, if it can deepen our connections with others, then it can also teach us something even more profound: resilience. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't defined by your successes or failures, but by your willingness to keep going, no matter what. And here's the kicker: resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. Like a muscle, it grows stronger with use. So how do we build resilience? How do we turn our pain into fuel for growth? The answer lies in reframing our perspective. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger, wiser, more compassionate?" I know that's easier said than done. When you're in the thick of it, when the pain is fresh and raw, it's hard to see the silver lining. But here's the thing: you don't have to find the lesson right away. Sometimes healing means simply surviving. It means taking things one day, 1 hour, 1 moment at a time. And that's okay, because every moment you choose to keep going, you're building resilience. Now let's talk about boundaries, because while vulnerability is a strength, it's not about being a doormat. It's not about letting toxic people walk all over you in the name of kindness. True vulnerability, true strength requires boundaries. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about protecting your energy, your peace, your light. They're about saying, "I love you, but I won't let you harm me. I care about you, but I care about myself too." Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. And the beautiful thing about boundaries is that they don't just protect you, they also teach others how to treat you. But here's the hard part: setting boundaries often means letting go of people who can't respect them. And that's painful. It's heartbreaking to walk away from someone you care about, even if they're toxic. But here's the truth: not everyone is meant to walk your path with you. Some people are lessons, not lifelong companions. And that's okay, because every person you let go of creates space for someone new, someone who will uplift you, support you, and value you for who you are. So let me ask you this: what are you holding on to that's no longer serving you? Is it a relationship? A belief? A fear? Take a moment to reflect, and then ask yourself, what would happen if I let it go? As we come to the end of this part, let's circle back to where we started: vulnerability. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers or never making mistakes. It's about showing up day after day as your authentic self. It's about embracing the messiness of life, the beauty and the pain, the light and the darkness. Because here's the truth: your vulnerability is your superpower. It's what makes you human. It's what connects you to others. And it's what allows you to transform your pain into power, your wounds into wisdom, your struggles into strength. In the next part, we'll explore how to harness that strength to create a life that not only protects your light but amplifies it, spreading it to others in a way that's sustainable, fulfilling, and deeply meaningful. Let's begin with a question that cuts right to the heart of our journey so far. What does it mean to truly thrive, not just survive? For good souls, the challenge isn't just about shielding yourself from toxic energy. It's about learning how to live in a way that amplifies your light, nurtures your spirit, and spreads your goodness to the world without depleting yourself. And this, my friend, is where the real transformation begins. Up until now, we've talked about surviving toxic energy, setting boundaries, and embracing vulnerability. Those are all foundational steps. But thriving? Radiating your light without fear, guilt, or hesitation. That requires a deeper shift, a shift from living reactively to living intentionally. So let's start here. What kind of life do you want to create? Take a moment to really think about that. Not the life you think you should want, or the life others expect you to live, but the life that would make your soul feel alive, expansive, and fulfilled. Most of us never stop to ask this question. We get so caught up in the daily grind, in meeting expectations and putting out fires, that we forget we have the power to shape our reality. But here's the truth: you are the architect of your life. Every choice you make, big or small, is a brick in the foundation of the world you're building. And the question is, are you building a life that reflects your light or one that dims it? Here's where things get interesting. For good souls, thriving often feels uncomfortable. Why? Because the very qualities that make you good, your empathy, your compassion, your willingness to give, can also make you feel guilty about prioritizing your own happiness. You might worry that focusing on yourself is selfish, or that it's your duty to carry the burdens of others. But let me ask you this: what happens to a candle that burns itself out? The answer is simple: it can no longer give light. And that's what happens when you pour all your energy into others without taking the time to replenish yourself. Thriving isn't selfish, it's essential. Because when you thrive, when you allow yourself to live fully and joyfully, your light becomes a beacon for others. You inspire them not by sacrificing yourself, but by showing them what's possible. So how do we shift from survival to radiance? How do we create a life that protects and amplifies our light? The first step is alignment. Alignment means living in a way that's true to your values, your passions, and your purpose. It's about removing the disconnect between who you are and how you live. Think about this: how much of your daily life is spent doing things that truly matter to you? How much of your energy is invested in activities, relationships, or goals that align with your deepest values? If the answer is not much, don't worry, you're not alone. Most of us live on autopilot, following routines and expectations without questioning whether they serve us. But to thrive, you need to break free from autopilot. You need to get intentional about where you invest your time, energy, and attention. Start by identifying your core values. Ask yourself what matters most to me. What kind of person do I want to be? Maybe it's kindness, creativity, freedom, or connection. Whatever it is, let those values become your compass. Let them guide your decisions, your actions, and even the people you choose to surround yourself with. And that brings us to the next step: community. If you want to thrive, you can't do it alone. Good souls often make the mistake of thinking they have to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. But here's the truth: you are not meant to walk this path alone. The people you surround yourself with have a profound impact on your energy, your mindset, and your ability to thrive. Toxic relationships drain you, but healthy, supportive relationships uplift you. They remind you that you're not alone, that your light matters, and that you have a network of people who see and appreciate your goodness. So ask yourself this: who in my life feeds my soul? Who makes me feel seen, valued, and supported? And just as importantly, who drains me? Who takes more than they give, leaving me feeling depleted or unworthy? It's not easy to let go of toxic relationships, especially when they involve people we care about. But remember, this letting go of someone doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you start loving yourself enough to prioritize your well-being. Now let's talk about purpose, because thriving isn't just about protecting your energy, it's about using your energy in a way that feels meaningful. And here's the thing: your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to feel authentic to you. Maybe your purpose is to create art, to raise a family, to build a career, or to simply spread kindness in your everyday interactions. Whatever it is, let it be something that makes you feel alive, something that gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And if you're not sure what your purpose is, that's okay. Sometimes your purpose isn't something you find, it's something you create, one step at a time. But here's the catch: living with purpose requires courage. It requires you to step outside your comfort zone, to take risks, to face the fear of failure. And that's where most people get stuck. But let me tell you something: failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the journey. Every mistake, every setback, every misstep is a lesson, a stepping stone that brings you closer to the life you're meant to live. So let me ask you, what would you do if you weren't afraid of failing? What dreams would you chase? What risks would you take? As we near the end of this journey, let's reflect on one final truth: thriving isn't about reaching some destination where everything is perfect. It's not about eliminating pain, avoiding challenges, or living a life free of struggle. It's about learning to dance in the rain, to find beauty in the mess, to let your light shine even in the darkest moments. Because here's the thing about light: it doesn't eliminate darkness, it coexists with it. And that's what makes it so powerful. Your light, your goodness, your compassion, your resilience isn't about erasing the shadows. It's about shining despite them. It's about being a source of hope, love, and inspiration in a world that desperately needs it. So let me leave you with one final question: what kind of light do you want to be? Do you want to be a flicker, a flame, or a fire? The choice is yours. But whatever you choose, remember this: your light matters. It matters to the people around you, to the world, and most importantly, to yourself. Now go out there and shine, not because the world needs you to, but because you deserve to.